What if the oceans just vanished? In a single heartbeat, Earth changes forever.
Instant chaos. Thousands of ships, suddenly 4 kilometers in the sky, begin a terminal freefall to the ocean floor. Nuclear leviathans, stripped of their buoyancy, smash into the seabed with the force of falling bombs.
Near the coast, the fall isn't fatal, but it's brutal. Swimmers hit the wet sand hard, stranded in an instant mudflat. 1 hour later, the biological nightmare begins. Without buoyancy, whales are instantly crushed by their own immense weight.
The seabed becomes a graveyard. Trillions of fish are left drowning in the open air, a writhing carpet stretching across the globe.
Deep-sea monsters, built for crushing pressure, face a gruesome end. Without the ocean's weight, they instantly decompress and burst.
Day 1 passes. Decay sets in. The stench of billions of rotting.
Week 1. The map is rewritten. The Golden Gate Bridge no longer spans a bay, but hangs precariously over a terrifying dry abyss.
Transatlantic flights are obsolete. For the first time in history, you can drive a Jeep from London to New York across the dried Atlantic mud.
In the middle of the journey, you hit a wall. The Mid-Atlantic Ridge, a jagged mountain range, tall. The ultimate archaeological find, the Titanic. Once lost to the crushing dark,
A global gold rush begins. Spanish galleons, World War II fighters, lost Cold War nukes.
the internet hangs by a thread. Vital undersea cables lie exposed on the mud. One cut, and the global economy disconnects.
Month 1. The climate engine dies. No oceans means no evaporation. Clouds vanish forever. The rain stops.
The land dries out in days. Forests turn into explosive kindling. Unstoppable firestorms sweep.
The dry seabed is a toxic desert. Winds whip megatons of salt into blinding white.
The oceans were our air conditioner. Now they're gone. Temperatures swing violently. 50 degrees by day, minus 50 by night. Gravity takes over. The atmosphere isn't weightless. It flows like water, draining from the high continents and pooling in the deep ocean trenches. At the old sea level, the air becomes too thin to breathe. To survive, humanity is forced to abandon the cities.
The blue marble is gone, choked by salt and eternal dust storms. We forgot the smallest heroes. Phytoplankton provided 70% of Earth's oxygen. In the end, the blue marble becomes a rusty tomb.
Don't let the theory end here. Click subscribe and ring the bell to join the Theoryverse. Explore the impossible with us. See you in the next reality. For surfers catching the perfect wave, the joyride ends instantly. One moment, glory.
The Great Barrier Reef, Earth's largest living structure. Exposed to direct sunlight, it bleaches white and dies in a single afternoon.
Venice. The romantic city of canals becomes a city of stinking ditches.
The Netherlands. They spent centuries engineering massive dikes to keep the ocean out. Now,
Rivers keep flowing. The mouth of the Amazon transforms into a waterfall 4 kilometers high.
Hawaii isn't an archipelago anymore. It's the tallest mountains range, measured from the base.
The Bermuda Triangle. The ultimate mystery evaporates with the water.
Antarctica. The floating ice shelves lose their foundation. Gigatons of ice plummet into the dark, shattering the frozen continent.
Geopolitics explodes. Every coastal nation instantly doubles in size. The greatest land grab in human history begins on the ocean floor. The planet itself fights back. Relieved of the ocean's crushing weight, the crust rebounds violently. Supervolcanoes erupt from the dry abyss.
the breadbasket is empty.
Nightfall brings no relief.
The dust never settles. A permanent shroud of salt and ash chokes the atmosphere.
The Great Pacific Garbage Patch finally touches down. No longer floating, it becomes a permanent.
Survival means going deep. We build new cities on the abyssal plains, huddled in the dark, chasing the only air thick enough to breathe.
Niagara Falls. The thunderous roar is silenced. One of the world's wonders is reduced to a dry.
The Panama Canal. The world's shortcut is severed. Billions in cargo sit stranded in dry concrete chambers, unable to move an inch.
The moon calls, but Earth doesn't answer. The tides, the planet's heartbeat, stop beating.
Hurricanes are canceled. Without warm water to fuel them, the planet's deadliest storms simply unravel and vanish into thin air.
The Strait of Gibraltar becomes a land bridge. For the first time in 5 million years,
hydroelectric power is history. The Hoover Dam, once a battery for the West, is now just a useless concrete wall holding back air.
The Great Lakes become the Great Canyons. Chicago isn't a lakeside city anymore. It's a fortress perched on a...
As the atmosphere drains into the abyss, the ceiling drops. Mount Everest is no high altitude.
The Maldives. Once afraid of sinking, they now face a new reality. Become isolated towers. The water leaves, but the salt stays. 50 quadrillion tons of it. A toxic, blind... The planet's balance is wrecked. Without the stabilizing weight of the oceans, Earth wobbles on its axis.
The Grand Canyon, once a marvel of nature, now, compared to the exposed ocean trenches, it looks like a mere scratch in the dirt.
New York Harbor empties in seconds. Lady Liberty no longer greets ships. She watches them fall into the mud from her new perch on the cliff.
It gets worse. Frozen methane deposits destabilize instantly. The seabed doesn't just dry up,
The Gulf Stream acts as Europe's heater. Without it, the system crashes.
The Mediterranean reverts to ancient history. It becomes a scorching salt desert, kilometers deep, baking under an unforgiving sun.
Nature abhors a vacuum. The moment the water leaves, air rushes down to fill the void. Supersonic winds blast outwards from every coastline on Earth. Air has weight. Stalelibers of it.
Real estate rules are inverted. The beach is now the uninhabitable death zone. The new prime location is a...
Physics gets weird. With the air drained away, the pressure up here drops so low that a glass of water would boil instantly without any heat.
Australia is no longer an island. The Southern Ocean is a highway. You can now drive a truck from Tasmania straight to the South Pole.
The white cliffs of Dover. Once a fortress against the sea. Now, they are just a tiny...
The scale is impossible to grasp. You could stack 13 Burj Khalifas in the deepest trench, and the top penthouse would still be in the dark.
A new network emerges. In the pitch black of the abyss, fragile lines of light appear. Point Nemo. The space graveyard. Without the water to hide them, decades of crashed... The seams of the world are exposed. Tectonic plates are no longer abstract lines on a map. They are physical. The abyssal plains, the flattest places on Earth. Thousands of miles of absolute featureless dust. Cold sea level is the new death zone. The air is so thin that without supplemental oxygen, you would pass out in your own living room.
At the bottom, the air is 5 times denser. You wouldn't need a plane. You could strap wings to your arms and fly like a bird. At the bottom, the air is 5 times denser. You wouldn't need a plane. You could strap wings to your...
It's not just flying. The air is so dense that sound travels slower. Everyone would...
Fire becomes a monster. In the dense, compressed air of the trenches, a simple matchstick erupts with the violence of a blowtorch. Hydrothermal vents, the ocean's chimneys. Exposed to the air, they transform into supersonic steam geysers. Earth becomes a vertical trap. Too high? You freeze and suffocate. Too low?
The sun becomes a laser. Without clouds to scatter the light, UV radiation spikes. You'd get third-degree burns in just 10 minutes.
The carbon cycle is broken. The oceans were our greatest carbon spunk. Now, every ounce of CO2 we emit has nowhere to go but.
The ultimate fate is the Venus effect.
In the end, even death changes. Without moisture, bacteria die. The dead don't rot.
The sun changes face. Choked by miles of atmospheric dust, our yellow star turns.
The economy changes instantly. Gold and Bitcoin are worthless trash. The only currency that matters now is liquid, H2O.
World War III isn't fought for oil or land. It is a desperate mechanical slaughter for the contents of a single water truck.
Water becomes a myth, a digital ghost. Children born in the dust will only know the ocean as a glowing hologram in a history museum.
The ISS crew watches the end from the front row. Orbit by orbit, the blue marble fades. Future geologists will find a scar in the rock, a thick, white line of salt and bone.
We spent billions searching for a second Mars. Irony strikes. We didn't need to leave. We just turned our own home into the red planet.
Earth becomes Arrakis. We don't farm food anymore. We become nomads in city-sized crawlers, mining the salt flats for the last drops of moisture.
One small step for man. It feels exactly the same. Walking on Earth now feels just like walking on the moon. Dusty, silent, dead. The green planet erased. Desertification isn't a slow creep. It's a sprint. Within months, the Amazon rainforest is just another dune.
The sky loses its color. Without water vapor to scatter blue light, the heavens.
The mega cities fall silent. Shibuya, Times Square, Piccadilly.
From the edge of the solar system, the view changes. Carl Sagan's pale blue dot is gone.
The map is redrawn. The oceans are gone, replaced by the largest deserts in history.
The Goldilocks zone is broken. We were the luck.
We took it for granted. Every glass, every shower, every rainstorm. Now, the old myth is dead.
The experiment concludes. The blue marble is a memory,